Again.
Hey now, it's Todd and Michelle from China Cat Chat.
Yes, a podcast for deadheads, dreamers, and lovers of all things weird and wonderful.
Coming to you with stories from the heart of the Grateful Dead universe.
In every other issue, we sit down with someone who inspires us, artists, fans, family, and fellow travelers.
And in today's episode, we decided that we would interview each other to give you an idea of how we got on the bus and why we're doing this China Cat Chat project in the first place.
Yes, exactly. So let's do that.
All right. Yeah, I thought this would be a good thing. We thought this would be a good thing just to tell our story because I don't know, we think that some of you followers, some of you listeners might want to know how we got here. Maybe, maybe not. I don't
Maybe not.
know. So I can go ahead and start.
Okay, you start.
Okay, I'll start. I'll start probably in Durango, I guess. I think that would be as good as any place to start. Durango, Colorado. So I'll go back before we met, even back to the mid 80s, 1985 or so. I started Fort Lewis College again in Durango, and I was into some interesting music at the time, and so I'll kind of start here with my musical journey. It was kind of like, I guess I would say post-punk, maybe rock kind of stuff, that I was listening to. Like
Like who?
Love and Rockets was a big one. I was a huge Love and Rockets fan for whatever reason. I thought they were really cool. Bauhaus, kind of the same vibe. And then I would listen to some ska. I had a friend who got me into some ska music. Think like Madness and those types of groups. But yeah, that's kind of how I started. And way before then, I was into like some heavy metal stuff. I don't know if heavy metal, but like AC/DC was my thing. But I would go back and forth from like AC/DC and then go to Pink Floyd. So yeah, kind of a strange thing there. But and then along all in that as well, I was a big U2 fan, which
Okay.
kind of plays into a little bit of a part later on in the story, the YouTube part of that. So, okay, so that was me in the mid 80s in Durango, chilling, listening to some cool Love and Rockets and thinking I was all cool and all that. Um, and then I would hear my friends or just people on campus playing Grateful Dead. And I just remember thinking, like, what the hell? This is just, I didn't get it. It just was totally not me. It was like super long songs and the lyrics were just too, I don't know, too out there or whatever. And it just wasn't my thing. And so now thinking back and now how much I love the Grateful Dead, I just think that was kind of hilarious that I went from not liking them at all to very much liking them and being, a Deadhead. So um, that's my way back story. And I don't know how if you want to chat about your kind of way back story before I go into others, I could talk, more about.
Well, I think you skipped over some important critical influences with your DJ days.
Well, yeah, so the DJ stuff, I mean, that came later. So, but
Okay, good.
so yeah, I'll talk about that too. So after this was in the mid to later 90s, um, I was a DJ at a little local radio station in Grand Junction, Colorado. And I played a variety of music. I started out there with a world music program, so it was like all these global grooves and stuff, and went through several different iterations of show sets, and then finally ended up on a show called the Orbit Lounge. And the Orbit Lounge, um, there were three of us, and so we would alternate Fridays. And it was an early morning show, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., perfect drive time. And it was just this, we would play this really chill, kind of cool lounge downbeat stuff, like Thievery Corporation. And, you kind of get that really low, cool, almost kind of tropical vibe too. And so there was some tropical stuff in there, which then propelled me into the tropical stuff propelled me into like exotica, which, I think like Martin Denny and Les Baxter and those kinds of folks, like bird calls and Hawaiian stuff, really, really kind of weird stuff. But I got exposed to so much music at that time. My whole Love and Rockets thing started, kind of fading away at that point, just because I realized there was so much more. And then I met this guy, this old Deadhead guy who was a DJ there too. He did a
Okay.
late night. I think he did a late night Friday show. I don't know. I can't remember. Doesn't matter. His name was Dyer. And his deal was he played full Grateful Dead shows. That was his deal. So, and sometimes a show and a half. Sometimes he'd go 2 shows. And so he would start at 9 o'clock at night and just go until whenever he wanted to end his show, which
Yeah.
was pretty cool. Just
Well, did you actually listen to his show, or
oh
you
yeah,
knew
yeah.
him from being around the studio?
Well, both. So I would listen to his show, and sometimes we would just hang if I was around. He was around during the day too. He would just, I don't know if he just didn't have much to do or what, but he would come into the studio and just kind of hang out. And so we got a chance to talk and catch up and trade stories. And he just had these great stories, great Grateful Dead stories. And so I think I started kind of coming around. I started listening to more Dead and understanding it. And there were several songs that I think, really kind of clicked. One of them was we talked about was trucking. I just like I just like kind of just the thought of it. It's, you're trucking, you're moving on down the road, and you've just got these, fun gigs you're going to, and weird things happen, on the road. And so I thought that was pretty cool, and that got me more into listening to more Dead, I think.
But when did you get on the bus? Like, you had this experience with all this exposure to different music genres, but when do you think there was
Yeah,
an actual time you got on the bus?
yeah, probably. I mean, I'm late getting on the bus. So
Okay.
I wasn't one of these early adopters who've been on the bus for, a long, long time and been to so many Dead shows. I never saw
Like
Jerry.
like my sister.
Yeah, I never saw the Grateful Dead. Dead and Company was my first, um, Dead experience, really. And so the first show that I went to was in the Woodlands outside of Houston and with you. So that was a lot of fun. There was the funny moment was that we're standing there, a naked guy, fully like totally naked guy comes bursting out the doors of a place there at the venue, and we're just like, what the hell? Here comes this naked guy just running out, just happy, and here comes the cops with security people after him. But the show was great, and I loved it just as a first Dead experience. But I didn't really. That wasn't my on the bus moment. Still, I think it wasn't there.
Okay.
I really think the on the bus moment for me was the Boulder show. So we did a Boulder show. That one was a 2 night show, I believe.
Okay.
Wasn't it? I think our first one was a 2 night show. I don't think it
Maybe
was three.
three
It could
nights.
it could have been a 3 night, but it was the Boulder show after that. And so that I think that was the time I really got on the bus, I'd say.
Well, I mean, Boulder and the Dead, you just kind of can't
Yeah.
better than that. So I agree that I would see how magical that is, because I think that's when
Yeah.
I got was Boulder,
Yeah.
but a little earlier. But yeah,
Earlier. Yeah, you were several years earlier than me, I
yeah,
think. So that's my
incredible.
that's my on the bus moment, I guess. My musical um, trip, my musical journey there
Yeah.
from early on, from Pink Floyd and AC/DC and post punk, Love and Rockets to world groove to Martin Denny and lounge and all that kind of stuff. And now, I mean, I still kind of listen to stuff like that, I suppose. And that's what I really love so much about the music of Grateful Dead is that it really incorporates so much of that. And so you can kind of hear a lot of that, even some exotica at times. I
Yeah.
mean, drums in space and birdsong. I mean, there's definitely some, kind of airy, weird stuff
Oh,
in
yeah.
those too. So it's all there. It's all there.
Well, I mean, I think it's great. I think it's just interesting to hear because you have been exposed to so many different types of music.
So much.
And mine really,
Yeah, yeah. I want to.
I
Yeah, I want to hear about yours. I know a lot of it, but not all of it. So
well, I think
let's
that
hear.
the fact that
Spill.
I grew up around country music was pretty um I mean, it's just like coming home when I listen to country music. I mean, it's just we always had it on. We lived in, New Mexico growing up, and then Tucson, and just my mom always loved country music. I mean, John Denver was always going, and Hank Williams, and so I just loved it. It was just good stuff. Then going into high school, I was definitely into the, same Love and Rockets. And when we met, I was definitely into all of that. Later, The Cure, I mean, Depeche Mode, I mean, INXS, like you name it, that was my jam. And I did, hear a lot of the music because I went to school in Boulder. A lot of Dead, music was around. There was a lot of, hippies in Boulder at the time when I went to college there. But it just was kind of around me, all of this music. Like, I don't know, I didn't really just go and play some Dead music. And none of my friends really listened to it. So I think that I really just kind of, the Dead music just danced around me because I had my sister, I had went to a school that you know, Bob Weir and Robert Hunter attended. I went to this little boarding school. So, it's kind of like I had these kind of like things around me around the Dead, but I just never got on the bus till later.
It was all
Um,
these things just kind of like inching you
yeah,
towards there, funneling you into it.
yeah. And then I finally went to this show in Boulder with my sister. I think it was about 2019. And that's when I was just like, wow, because it was just super magical. We had rain and hail in the middle of a cold rain and snow, and we had to escape and evacuate, and then we were drenched, and I had to buy a sweatshirt from the vendors to just be able to continue to dance onward. And we just danced for 3 days. And I remember the last night there was a little band outside, and we just kept dancing, and the music, we just kept dancing for the rest of that evening. So I think that I just got really turned on because I experienced such an amazing, I mean, Boulder, you just can't get better with the Dead. I mean, it was just the views, and yeah, it was just awesome. So that's when I truly got on the bus. And then from there, I I have not missed a Boulder show for sure. And I think the cool thing about the music is that there is so much, there's so many influences in the Dead music that now I feel like I've come full circle in the music. I just get so excited when I hear the boogie woogie, and I hear the country, and I hear, the blues and the jazz and the rock. But there's just such it's just amazing. And I just love it. And I love dancing to it, and the people and the culture and the community, and just the vibe, the scene. I love it.
The scene. The scene
The
is
scene.
great.
So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
how I got on the bus.
yeah. The rock. I never. I mean, I know that there's definitely, obviously rock influenced in Grateful Dead music, but I never realized until today how kind of much rock there was. We were listening to a show from maybe like the
80s.
late 89 or something, and I forgot where it was even from, but they were rocking out. I was like, "What is this?"
They were way,
They were rocking out. They're
yeah.
rocking out, and that's what I kind of love is still being able to hear songs that we've never heard before from the Dead. And so I'm definitely no Grateful Dead expert, which I love being able to learn more every time we hear it. So
Yeah.
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's definitely cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to Durango because that's
Yes.
actually how you and I met. So maybe
Yes.
we can
It
share a little bit
is.
of that, but I'll go first.
Okay, you go first. You tell it much better than I do anyway.
Well, I don't know about that, but I was, so when I went to boarding school in Colorado, I spent the summer with my sister, who you all might have heard the interview with. She lived in Durango, Colorado, and had an old time photo shop. And I was fortunate to stay with her and work for the summer so I could, make a little money and hang out. And so I just went to work one day, and I remember that it was the beginning of the summer, and I got to meet my, colleagues at my new job, and in walks Todd. And I was like, okay. I was like, okay, this is who I get to work with. I was like, oh my goodness. So I was smitten for sure. And we ended up, I think we pretty much tried to work. I tried to work every evening shift I could because I think he had another job. So I had to work anytime I could when he was working. And then at some point, I just remember telling myself, I hope he asked me out. And then he did. And we dated for a little bit in that summer. And yeah, we had a great summer. And here's a little picture from photo,
Oh
our photo
my.
days.
There's the old photo.
And so we had a
Oh
great
my
time. We
gosh.
dressed up people at night. They'd come in there drunk and want pictures, and we would dress people all day long. And it was fast and furious. We had a great time. And then I went off to high school. I was still in high school, and Todd goes off to college. And then we kind of ended up, um, well, we kind of kept coming back around for a little while. And then we kind of had our own lives. And then, um, our paths just kind of kept trying to cross. Um,
It did. It kept trying to cross. One of them was I'll bring back up the U2. I talked about U2
yes.
with my background of musical influences, and U2 was a big. I loved listening. I loved U2. I loved it in high school, and then coming into college, I still loved U2. And so after that summer, in the fall, I think it was in November. This was in '87. Um, I I had bought tickets to the U2 concert in at McNichols Arena in Denver, and I was up in Fort Collins at CSU, and so I had a couple of friends that we drove down, and we went to the show, went to the U2 concert, and as I was just like kind of standing there hanging out, I don't know, under like one of the entrances, archways to go into one of the tunnels to get in, and there's Michelle. We were
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah.
Out of all those people, there you were standing right there. And I don't remember. I mean, everyone has to realize, of course, this was before cell phones, and
No cell
we didn't
phones.
know. So we didn't. So I don't know if we knew. I can't really remember the total logistics of that. I
Yeah.
think we knew maybe we were both going, but there was no way we were gonna.
Yeah. I think there was just, I think we knew each other were there, but I mean, in 50,000 people or whatever it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
But then we ended up watching the show together, and
Watch the
I think
show
we both
together.
went home. So that was very nice of you.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I managed to, don't tell anybody, whoever's listening, I managed to smuggle in one of those little micro cassette tapes. Remember those were the tapes were like really tiny, and I had it in my pocket and recorded the show.
yes.
And I still have that tape. And so you
Yeah.
can hear us on that tape.
Scream.
That's great. Yeah, hilarious. I don't know what else I can add to the story there of the shop,
The
the Photoshop,
store.
except for um, you know, the old lyric, I knew right away she was not like other girls, for sure. So we had a great summer. We had lots of fun adventures there in Durango. A lot of really amazing moments.
Yes. And here we are now. We had a bit of some detours along the way, but now we're back. And
We had many decades apart, and
yes,
we found ourselves again.
yes, God is good all the time. Had a plan. It was as it is written, I think, and it was meant to be. And here we
Yeah,
are today.
here we are.
And we're here to talk about this China Cat chat thing. We thought we would, share with the audience why we're doing this. So why are we doing this?
Yeah. So one of the for me, do you care if I start?
No, you go.
Okay. So I think one of the reasons for me is when we were at Pitts, when we were at playing in the sand in Mexico at the show there, the thought there was how cool the connection was with everyone, the community, and what everyone's story is. And we knew that, there were a lot of newsletters or podcasts or whatever out there that would talk about Grateful Dead and the music and the band members and their history and all this stuff. But there just didn't seem to really be anything out there to talk about the Deadheads and their stories, how they get on the bus and what their story is, what's their favorite shows, what's the favorite thing they like to do at Shakedown, and all that kind of stuff. And we wondered, watching people go by, what's their story? And I think that may have been, we started thinking about that. Let's put together something where we can do, a podcast, we can interview them, and then it kind of morphed into a newsletter and, interview them and have that in connection with the newsletter. And it just kind of grew and grew. And then the next time we went to Pitts, it was Deadhead, I guess. Then
I
I
think
think, if I'm thinking that right, maybe not. It was Pitts. I don't remember. Whatever it was, we ended up bringing a bunch of little handouts that we had a QR code on, and we were just handing those things out as fast as we could to people, and they could scan and sign up for our newsletter. And that was several years ago. And so we had these initial subscribers from several years back. And if you're watching, I don't know if you were one of the ones that scanned it on the beach there. Thank you for hanging out and staying with us. It took us several years to get the actual newsletter up and running, but we finally did. Things got in the way.
here we are.
Here
Here
we are. And
Yeah,
I'm learning so much, just kind of doing deep dives into Dead and archive and artwork and music, and just coming up with pieces to put in the newsletter that I think are interesting. And I hope that the people reading it think that it's interesting too. And I know a lot of the people reading it are you know pure Deadheads. They've been at this for a long, long time. I've not been for that long of a time, so it's very interesting to me. But I'm hoping that we're coming up with some kind of content that still piques their interest as well.
for sure.
So
Well,
what about
and
you? Let's hear what your thought
the
is.
China Cat thing did the idea started back then. I think and the thing about pits that I don't know everybody knows is that you give this, we don't have a shakedown, so you give like stickers or bracelets or something that you can take to Mexico and share with everybody because there's just no way to do a shakedown in Mexico. So we took stickers and we've taken coasters, and you just talk to a lot more people because you're just handing out all this stuff, right? And you get to chat with them and hear their story, where they're from. And I think that was definitely an inspiration in coming up with this idea because really the thought of continuing to foster the community, the connection, because we all are on the same page. We all love this band, right? They love the music. But how do you continue the community? How do you continue connections? I think that was kind of my inspiration from, going to Pitts, but also how to with our Ripple Moments, how to spread the kindness, because I think there's just an opportunity for that in this world that we need. And I think we can do that through our newsletter, I hope. So, we work on ideas that are easy to incorporate, maybe just thought provoking, but to just kind of do what we can in the world today to share kindness and try to be the light.
Yeah.
So that's I think where I came from, and hopefully our articles are going to do that. I know we're new and up and coming, and we've kind of just getting off the ground with our family who we're interviewing, but we have some great friends from Pitt that we met, and some others that have just beautiful stories to share. So that's what we want to do. We want to share stories. We want to connect community. We want to continue this awesome, love for the music through connection going, basically, and share some fun facts along the way, maybe.
Yeah, I love that. I loved your idea. You came up with the ripple moments to have in there, just because that's really a cool touch to add, I think, to the end of the newsletter, just to get people thinking.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope people are enjoying it because
Yeah,
again, we need to spread more kindness in this world
yeah.
for sure.
I was looking just real quick here. We are talking about the sticker that we made to give out. You're talking about giving out stickers and stuff, and I have it on my phone here, but I can't find it right now. So it's on. It'll be in the newsletter. We're putting it in the newsletter. So you can check out that
Yes,
sticker,
the first sticker
box of
we
rain
made
sticker.
is about the box of rain, and my daughter created it, and my sister gave it out the first year without us because
Yeah,
COVID happened and we couldn't attend.
yeah,
She attended though, and she got a free one, and she gave out lots of stickers. So we'll share that in our up and
yeah,
coming year. But
yeah.
yeah, that's why we're here. We hope that those who are watching are enjoying. And the only other thing we were going to add is a few maybe favorite moments. So I'll tell a few of my favorite real quick. Favorite moments from Boulder. Not sure what year. It might have been the last one we did. I think it was 23. Um, and there was just a lot at that show that was magical. I think we had a double rainbow. At one point, Mayor just turns around and says, "Look at the moon." I mean, there were just
Right.
some funny things that happened. But it was just magical. And then I think the icing on the cake was the drones, and they were fantastic. And I also got to run into my college roommate. So that show was just spectacular. So those are some of my favorite moments. So tell us some of yours.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was the one that Dave Matthews came out at the end, I think, right?
Yes, Dave Matthews was there. That was fantastic too.
Yeah, that was a great one. I mean, we've seen some good shows, the Boulder shows. I mean, they're right up there, very top. But then we went to Vegas to the Sphere, and I don't know. You can't. There's no comparison between that and the Boulder shows. With the flat irons there in the background. It's amazing, all that red rock in there. But the Sphere, I
Yeah.
don't know, was
Yeah.
upper level. I mean, it was
Well, and we
it
got to
was
share that with my
spectacular.
daughter and my brother and a bunch of other family with my sister. That was pretty,
Yes, yes.
yeah, I was outside. It was
Yeah,
out.
so it was far out.
It was so
It
far
was
out.
definitely, I mean, as far out I think as you can go.
I agree.
So anyone who's not been to the Sphere, hopefully they will do another residency and you can get to the Sphere. But that ranks right up there, I'd say.
Yeah.
I mean, it really it does. But almost my favorite thing really is Shakedown. I know it just sounds crazy, but it's just cool to go through the lot and see the vendors and what all they've come up with and chat with people. I don't know, I get a kick out of that. So I think that's for me, that's a lot of fun too. So
That's true. Well, again, that speaks to the connections,
yeah,
the connections that you
yeah,
make a lot, the connections you make while you're waiting in line. And that's what
yeah,
we're here to do with China Cat, is to try to connect with people and share some love and kindness. So
yeah.
thank you guys for being here. Tune in next time. And
Yes.
yeah,
Follow us. China Cat Chat. You can go to our site, chinacatchat.com. You can sign up for the newsletter there. You can sign up, you can subscribe to YouTube channel here. We're on Instagram, Facebook. I don't know what else. Just look up China Cat Chat on your
go
favorite
China.
social channel, and hopefully you will find us there. And we'll continue to grow the newsletter. We'll continue to grow this YouTube channel with your help. So
Yes. And one
spread the
last,
word.
we're going to be in San Francisco for the 60-year reunion,
Yep.
and we are going to try to do a meetup. So stay tuned for more details there, and we look forward to seeing you then.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Sounds good. Thank you. Bye.
Peace.
Peace. Until next time.